Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented, number 299. We're getting close. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
Do we have something planned for our 300th episode?
No.
Hopefully to be here.
Yeah. That's good enough.
We're all going to bowl a 300 game. So there was another debate. Did you guys watch it?
I kind of followed it through Twitter, but my streak of not watching any of the debates on television remains clean.
Mine too.
Yeah, same here.
Although we are in the majority this time because this was the lowest rated of the three debates. It's half of the audience of the first one.
Oh, was Bernie at this debate?
Oh yeah.
You know, that tells you right there, man. Motherfucker had a heart attack and he's still going to debates. That tells you right there that the craving for power is strong with these people. Just remember that, folks. Not even heart attacks will slow these fuckers down.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bernie has even less of a chance, it looks like, of winning the nomination this time around than last. But I think right now he's looking at being a viable vice presidential candidate. He's just trying to stick it out. He said that initially there was a statement from his campaign that was like, you know, here's what happened to him, and as a consequence, there's going to be a little adjustment of the schedule. We're going to slow things down a little bit. And then the next day, Bernie was on TV like, nope, we're not slowing down at all. Full steam ahead.
Has a candidate ever died during an election cycle? I know we've had our fair share of presidents who've expired in office, but
I think the closest we've came is an assassination attempt on, was it McGovern in the 60s? There was, I don't know. I'm trying to remember that scene from Forrest Gump.
Wait a minute.
Not McGovern.
That's the closest we came to
someone dying on the presidential campaign.
No, George Wallace.
Wallace, thank you. And not the black comedian either.
No.
Yeah, he got shot while campaigning for president.
I don't know about you guys. If I had a heart attack, this podcast shit's on hold.
Well, fuck that. We're kicking in the door of your fucking ICU room and sticking a mic in your face.
But you're not, I mean, you can't compare the two.
No, but I'm just saying, like, in general, if I have a heart attack, whatever I'm doing is on hold. I mean, I guess
that's the thing. There's no on hold for Bernie. There is drop out of the race or don't. Do you think there's a world where Bernie goes, I'm going to take a couple weeks off and his poll numbers just don't disappear?
No, he tags in Hillary, and Hillary comes in and does the campaign for him for a couple weeks. It's like a tag team event at a WWE show or something.
Hey, you could get Omar and AOC to campaign for him. They came out and endorsed him this week.
Yeah, because he needed the support. But yeah, like I said, there's no way that Bernie could just do anything other than I'm going ahead with the plan that I had originally, or I quit.
Hey, 76.
I don't see a half option for Bernie.
I get it. I guess just at 76 and I have a heart attack, I would just be like, hey, we're done, folks.
Oh, that's it. So would I. But
didn't he?
If this is something that you were kind of working to your whole life and you felt like you were this close to the finish line, a lot of people would push ahead at the risk of their own health. People do it all the time.
That's true, but I think the key word in that sentence you just said was life.
Yeah.
I'd rather continue it, even at 76.
Wow.
I've become accustomed to this whole taking in oxygen thing.
No, he's not having a good month because October 9th, his daughter-in-law died of cancer at 46. Jeez. So, yeah, if I'm Bernie, I don't know if I'm buying any green bananas or lottery tickets. Until at least I get to on the other side of October. I mean, even though if you're going to try to hit pause on a campaign, which I get your point. That is kind of like, you really can't. But if you're going to, your daughter-in-law dying, I don't see as, a reason to. A heart attack, a little bit more of a reason to. Especially since his age and his health is a concern with a lot of people. Even people who supported him in 2016, by the way.
Right, but his daughter dying, if he took some time away from the campaign because of that, I think people would be more forgiving of that because it's not indicative of anything. His daughter dying doesn't say anything about Bernie's competency or health, while stepping away because of a heart attack certainly does. I mean, I don't buy into this idea that we have to like
president if all my children except for Ivanka died. I don't care.
I understand the idea behind wanting to know that if you're going to support this person and vote for them, that they're going to be in it for the long haul, that they're going to actually live to complete the job. But when you're judging that based on just plain old life expectancy and the human body, I don't think that should be a factor at all. I mean, we have this process for judging competency, and that's part of what the debates are. And if their health or their age is hindering them in some way in that capacity, then it's going to be obvious on the campaign trail. Otherwise, I say, if they're your candidate in ideals, support them. Don't worry about when they could die because you don't fucking know. It could be tomorrow. It could be 10 years.
Well, I mean, it's been said quite a bit over the years that if Roosevelt had to run in modern times, or if he, for president in modern times, there's no way he would have been reelected because it had come out that he had he had polio or something like that, some sort of illness.
FDR, yeah. He was in a wheelchair his whole life.
I mean, which to me, like, look, heart attack ain't great, but it's going to sound kind of flippant about it, but it obviously wasn't a massive one. They didn't crack his chest open. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't on life support in an ICU somewhere, in a medically induced coma while they're figuring out what to do. I mean, Dick Cheney, he's probably had a heart attack since we've been recording this fucking show. So, I mean, come on now.
Well, other than Bernie's heart attack, what else about the debates?
I was waiting for everyone to reveal their final Jeopardy question.
Oh yeah, that last question about Ellen.
No, I was just commenting on how they all looked like they were standing in front of Jeopardy. What do you call them? Lectern, podium. No, I guess they did actually. I saw that they asked a question about Ellen at the end, and I was like,
the closing question. The closing question.
Do not care about that answer to that question. It's going to be it has to be the dumbest responses.
Yeah. One of the few times the people on Twitter and I were in lockstep. Like, really? Did you just ask that question?
I mean, if not, I can't believe not one of them said, I can't believe you're asking that question as the final question. You haven't asked a single question about climate.
I think Julian Castro did.
Okay, there you go. Somebody had a decent answer to that question, which is, why are we talking about this?
Yeah. There was nothing brought up about climate change, immigration, and there was a third thing that I was kind of like, yeah, these kind of all have been important issues. It was, that it bordered on ridiculous. And did you guys see? Did you see that stuff about Tulsi Gabbard?
Specifically,
what she said about calling out CNN, calling her a Russian asset.
What? Wait a minute. CNN said that Tulsi is a Russian asset?
Yes. Let me try to find the story.
Wait, the story I heard is that she was the most searched for candidate after the debate, but
that's the first one.
Oh, so okay. Well, maybe someone was referencing that.
But that's when that started, that whole Russian troll or whatever. Remember that rumor started on Twitter because everyone was searching for her. And the theory was she was there to disrupt everything.
I I mean, I did a search on her and I found her bikini pics, and I was like, that's pretty impressive.
Have you seen her work out? This is no fucking joke, man.
So that's
Her workout is
military.
intense.
Some military lady. She's got fucking abs, and she's in her mid-40s. She's got abs.
She's 38. Don't age her.
Well, yeah, I guess you can retire early from the military if you go in when you're young enough. You can put in 20 and get out and still be in your 30s if you join when you're 18.
She said, as we saw in the days leading up to the debate last night, both CNN and the New York Times both ran hit pieces. For them to just sit there and try to portray themselves as neutral arbiters and independent entities working with the DNC to carry out legitimate debate is frankly a joke. This is exactly what happens to those like myself who are trying to end this regime change war in Syria, who are calling for an end of our country's policy of being the world's police. What they're really doing is smearing anyone who is calling for an end of these regime change wars, including veterans. She's mad that she's been called an Assad apologist and a Russian asset. Oh yeah, just 2 days ago, the New York Times put out an article saying that I'm a Russian asset and an Assad apologist, and all these different smears. This morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable.
So I'm not sure exactly where they're coming from on her being a Russian asset, but maybe it's from the idea that if she's for pulling out of, the Middle East and everywhere really, and like she says, not being the world police, I don't know. Well, that's a sentiment I agree with. That's also exactly what Putin wants, right? He wants America to stop sticking their nose in, especially the Middle East, so that Russia can control what's going on in the Middle East. Which is exactly actually what happened with this thing in Syria. I mean, Turkey attacked the Kurds. The U.S. pulled out their support, and now Russia's stepping in to save the day.
I did see something about a ceasefire has been negotiated by Pence to allow the Kurds to leave without getting killed.
To allow them to leave, yeah. So basically ceding the territory to Turkey. It's interesting.
Hey, well, Trump got what he wanted, right? He said, "Don't be a tough guy." Did you guys see that letter?
That letter was insane.
I was like, what? The President of the United States wrote this letter. Wow.
I had to go and find the actual letter to make sure that it was, because the first instance that I saw of this letter was somebody putting it in the Star Wars opening credit scene font with it just crawling up the screen. And I'm like, this can't be right. They must be paraphrasing for, to put it in a more comedic context. And nope, that was word for word.
They say, haven't we learned by now? They're not paraphrasing.
Well, he describes phone calls as beautiful and perfect. I mean, anything coming out of his mouth at this point, like, I mean, I can understand fact checking it, but at the same time, it's like, really? He's liable to say anything.
We're not aware of this 3 years in. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, I've been in the John Oliver camp for what was he said a year ago or whatever. Where nothing surprises me anymore. Like, it's not saying it's right or wrong. It's just color me not surprised. This man has proven he will say and fucking do anything.
Hold on. He will say and fuck. Was there a comma there? Then and do anything? Because either way it works. I'm just saying.
That's what I was saying. The interpretation's on you there, sir. Do with it what you will.
Well, I guess to get back to the debate thing, the big story is Elizabeth Warren being first in line to take some shots.
Well, yeah, her poll numbers started creeping up prior to the debate, so obviously she's being looked at as more of a threat. I was kind of excited to see that not only were her poll numbers going up, but that everybody she was the Biden of the last debate. Everyone went after Biden because they saw him as the most dangerous one. I think they see him as weakened now because of the attacks on Trump and because of his wishy-washy defense of his and his son's actions. But not only that, not only were most of the attacks directed at Warren, from the popular consensus, she seems to have done the best at the debates. I mean, she won, quote unquote. However you win a debate like that. The popular opinion is she won the debate.
And I hate to be this guy, but does that really mean anything in October of the year before?
Does any of this then? I mean, okay.
Well, I'm just saying because it's so far out.
Right. We're talking about the debate, right?
If we were in June of 2020,
I don't know. When we were this far out in 2008, wasn't it pretty much a lot of people's opinion that, okay, well, this is Hillary's race to lose? And in the last year before the election, Obama pretty much overtook her. I mean, I don't remember anyone really thinking that Obama was going to win the nomination a year and a half out from the actual election.
Yeah, but at the same time, wasn't Trump polling at 1% or some shit? Same time frame. Weren't we essentially laughing that this guy was even considered? We didn't even think he was a factor at this point in the previous election cycle.
Oh, Jesus Christ! The laughing never stopped until he won, and that's when he won, and it's like, yeah, did you guys enjoy all them fucking Saturday Night Live skits about the debate where who was it, Kate McKinnon that played Hillary was like, I don't even have to say anything. Go ahead, let them talk. And everyone was, ha, 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 this is going to be a landslide. And then he won, and it was like, maybe it's time to stop laughing. Maybe it's time to take some shit a little bit serious here. There's a lot more dumb people in this country than we give ourselves credit for. I just think it's very weird that you have all these Democratic candidates debating each other. Whoever is the perceived front runner, they gang up on dogpile, and then whoever does end up with the nomination, then these people come back and they're like, "Oh, I must throw my support behind this person." Really, the person who during the debates you thought was the absolute wrong person,
That's our political system now. I just talk shit about it for a year. Now I'm your friend.
Yeah, that's a long tradition. I mean,
and it's not party exclusive either.
That's why, there's a lot of people like Lindsey Graham. People like to throw quotes from Lindsey Graham about Trump prior to his election and then after his election, and try and call him out as a hypocrite. But he wasn't doing anything different than any other politician does.
Yeah, you
tear down the opponent that you're up against, and when it comes time to somebody wins and you're still on the same side, then you go back to all toeing the party line.
Mm-hmm. I had a thought this week, and I'm not sure if you guys remember or not. Didn't debates not used to start until you actually were in the election year? Is this a year and a half out thing, a newer phenomenon?
Well, we keep lengthening the term of the election process, right? We're starting this election process earlier. We're starting the debates earlier. But I don't think that we found any evidence that this helps us select a leader any earlier.
Because I seem to remember 92, 96, when we were younger, all of this stuff started after the primaries. What is it? New Hampshire or Iowa kicked it off, and then it started. Right,
but I wonder too if the positive effect of this is actually getting the public more involved in the process earlier on, instead of having the party select a couple leaders to put up. It seems like we have a much more open process that depends a lot on polling numbers and public opinion. I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, if the DNC candidate or if the popular candidate doesn't align with the DNC candidate, we've seen that they're willing to take action when they think the public's making the quote unquote wrong decision, i.e., liking Bernie too much in the last election and not giving Hillary her due so to speak. But maybe this lengthening and drawing it out and kind of opening the process up more and following these bullets, as insane as it is to follow it this far out, maybe that's actually making a difference to the process. I don't know.
I see it as them just giving us more of what we want. We've proven through social media that we'll eat this stuff up, and they're just like, give them more of it.
Yes, but if what we want is more input, more of this, and more say on the process, then maybe then is that a bad thing to get what we want?
I wasn't making a judgment call whether it was a good or bad thing. It just is what it is. It's like if it bleeds, it leads. Ultimately, we can bitch about that as much as we want, but we got to look in the mirror as to, well, we're the ones tuning in to watch it.
Well, I was going to bring up this question: is it what we want, or is it what we're being told we want?
Well, I think for people who look at politics as like entertainment or along the lines of a sporting event, they're eating this shit up.
Yeah, how do you say that?
This is their media week leading up to the Super Bowl. It just happens to last for a year and a half.
Yeah, if we're talking about it as entertainment, then how could it not be what the people want, right? They are choosing to tune into it.
When's Vince McMahon going to host a debate?
Like if we were talking about steering, certain subjects or something, or, the types of questions that the moderators chose to ask, that would be deciding what the people want. But just having more debates and more candidates, I think that's just from the public demand.
But the ratings are if each one, they keep going down.
Right, but that's TV ratings. That doesn't reflect true engagement of what was going on in the debate. There's everyone that's following it online through Twitter, everyone who's reading about it and talking about it for days later. I mean,
that's true.
We don't have to watch it live.
Well, it's also the fact that if they're trying to extend the run up to the actual election, then they're going to keep pushing it until they find a point where people start to lose interest, and then they'll perfect it from there. Yeah, but in 2024, is it going to start? Is it going to be a 2-year cycle? Is it going to start in 2022? Like, is that what they're pushing for? Well, I mean, people in Congress are always on the campaign trail,
right?
So, I mean, it all. I guess it all depends on how engaged in the political system a person is. I know plenty of people who don't watch the debates. They know either who they're going to vote for or who they're going to vote against, and the debates are just, it doesn't matter to them. And I know other people who, I mean, I see them all the time on social media, or I talk with them at work or whatever, who watch every single thing, and it is like, to them, it is like watching a sporting event, because they critique, did you see so and so misspeak here, or give this, or flub this answer, or this person totally come out of nowhere and gave an answer no one was expecting, and to me, it really depends on your level of involvement. And I mean, as long as there's free market, guys, right? As long as there's a market for it, they're going to offer it to us.
Yeah, well, as long as there's consumers, it will be given something to consume.
And I mean, just like the as we talked about a few months ago, this decade kind of felt like the end of, in a lot of ways, quote unquote, appointment television, where, you have to be in front of the TV when this show comes on, because now we have DVRs or streaming services.
Yeah, I got shit to do, man. I watch it on my time.
That's, politics are following that same line. So, I mean, you don't have to watch it. Like Aaron just said, you don't have to watch the debate live. You can sleep through the debate, wake up in the middle of the night, and watch the whole fucking thing if you want, or just a recap of it. Which I mean, arguably, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that the what do you call them? What are the statistics for how many people watch the show?
Ratings?
The ratings. Thank you. I don't think the ratings actually mean anything. It's all about I mean, if you judge what they talked about in the last debate based on engagement, based on how many people are talking about this, writing stories about it, sharing stories about it, I mean, sure, the ratings may have gone down, but I think the engagement, at least from what I can tell from social media, actually went up. And I don't know. I mean, maybe is there going to be a period where we feel like we have to reel this process in some because it's become exhausting by the time. I mean, I don't know. Every 4 years, it feels exhausted. I feel exhausted in November.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how long it's been going on for. You're just like, can we just get this over with already?
But that's the thing. We're over a year out, and I'm already approaching exhaustion. We still got 13 months to go. 12 and change.
Right, but what do you think that means for you as a voter? Does that mean that you're so exhausted and that you're completely tuned out and you don't even vote?
No, I mean, it's kind of like Rich. I pretty much know who I'm already going to vote for in the primary.
Right.
And if he gets past the primary, then I'll vote for it's.
Well, hey, don't pin it. I know who I'm going to vote for. Like I said, I did see Tulsi in her bikini. You know, that might have swayed me a one way.
Yeah. She ain't going to be there when the primary comes to Michigan. She ain't going to be there by Christmas.
I want to vote for a president that I want to have a lot of beers with.
Yeah. President, I want to get drunk.
Would it be wrong to go to one of her campaign rallies and make it rain? I mean, that's just what I want to know. I might be escorted out, but hey, worth it.
Tulsi seems like a good candidate, really down to earth. Somebody you'd really like to sit down and have a glass of wine with and put on some smooth jazz music and turn the lights down low. Real down to earth.
Seems like you get half a bottle of wine into her, she might get into butt stuff. I don't know. I like that in my presidential candidates.
Somebody that me and the boys used to call a chick who can hang, quote unquote.
Yeah. She's a trooper.
Yeah, it's 2019 though, right?
It means she takes it in her pooper.
It's 2019 and everyone's equal, right? Why can't men have a president that they want to fuck? All right?
Yeah, because all bullshit aside.
Who said there weren't like a lot of men who didn't want to fuck Obama?
That's true. Forget about gay people.
All bullshit aside, I knew a lot of women. Some of them might have been in my family who were like, "Ooh, that Bill Clinton, he's just so good looking." And
That's what I'm saying. Why can't men have that candidate?
What? Geraldine Ferraro didn't do nothing for you?
No, because I was 4.
80. You better go look up her pictures, bro.
Well, okay.
Here's why. Helen Mirren when she was in her prime.
Here's an easy answer for your question, though, because part of, and speaking in real general terms here, part of women's attraction to men is power, is authority, is being. It's much more about their personality, and men are much more superficial. So the powerful, authoritative, smart women don't really overlap with the I want to fuck women, just speaking again in real general terms.
Man, somebody hears that, you're going to be canceled, Aaron.
Yeah, how dare you point out general biology?
I'm saying, it's a minority of men that are into strong women.
I don't know, man. I'm starting to see a lot of weird shit get posted. Now, I'm not talking like on porn sites. I'm talking like, I want this. I want a woman who's just going to sit on my face until I die. And I'm like, damn, bro. You don't even want to come up for air?
It's about a strong woman.
It's about domination, though. There's a power play in there somewhere. Come on now. Let's be honest. I mean, like they maybe gender roles are being played with to the point where, that's not so much in the younger generations coming up behind us. They're not stuck on the, I have to be in power because I'm the guy. Maybe they like a woman who's like, grab you by your ears and like, get down there and eat that motherfucker, I don't know.
Aaron, I think what you're getting at is, I think it gets to a deeper thing of I think it's something with men, or most men, that they want to be the brains of the operation. They want to be the person in charge, and in a strong woman
they're
challenged
by a strong woman.
Yeah, it challenges that, and then apparently your penis shrivels up and goes away if a woman challenges you. You met Mandy. I'm not afraid of a strong woman, a married one, but I just think men I just think most men don't want to be challenged. They're, like you said, they're threatened by it. She might be smarter than me.
I've just been so disappointed because when I do think I find someone who's, a woman who's strong and smart and can take charge, most of the time they're just as incompetent and faking it as the rest of us are. Like, you start to see cracks in the armor and you're like, oh God, you're just like everybody else. You're just pretending you know what you're doing most of the time. All right. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just how I look at it. I don't give a shit, male or female. Just get something done. How about that? Let's start with that. Let's make that our the bar we set. I don't care if you stand or sit when you piss. Can you get shit done? But unfortunately, as much as the words enlightened and my name, you don't usually go in the same sentence. I just don't think that most people feel that way. At least deep down. They'll probably tell you they feel that way if you ask them in front of people, but deep down, a lot of people still got the mentality like you said. They're kind of, what if she's smarter than me? Well, she probably is. How many college degrees do you have, dipshit?
I went to community college for 6 months.
And I'm going to quote Chris Rock here. At community college, a disco with books.
Yeah,
because anyone in the community can go. Drug dealers, hookers, anybody, so.
Where do you think I bought weed from when I was in college? At college. Because I was in community college.
Right. Well, but you're getting into, I think, the minority of men that wouldn't vote for any woman for just purely misogynistic reasons. I think there's still the broader idea of that, obtaining power, obtaining a position of status, like a senator or mayor or something like that, something that would be a stepping stone usually to a presidency, even for just regular non-misogynistic guys, doesn't necessarily add to that person's attraction. Whereas, again, in real general terms, for a lot of women, that adds significantly to that person's sexual appeal.
Man, you're just trying to get canceled, aren't you, Aaron?
But do you see the distinction I'm trying to make? I'm not talking about misogyny. I'm just talking about like what we're attracted to. Having a shapely figure, nice symmetry to the face.
Dude, it's biology. I get it. You don't got to justify yourself to me, man.
Physical attraction is one thing. I think, like Tulsi Gabbard is, I think, a really attractive woman. And I'm sure there are guys who are like, oh, that's really hot. This is a strong woman and she's really attractive. But most guys would be attracted to her if they just saw her on the street anyway. And, and having that position of power might not actually, might work against them. Like, oh, it's a hot chick, but she seems like she'd be high maintenance,
Oh, I think all politicians are high maintenance.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you imagine being married to anybody who ran for any kind of public office? I don't know if I could do it.
Fuck that. No, I'm good on that.
They'd have to seriously make me believe that they were trying to destroy the system from the inside out.
Well, you think it's bad trying to find an outfit that your wife's going to approve of to go to like a work function for her? Imagine how many outfit changes you got to go through when, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so my voting base look small in these pants.
Well, no, but I mean, she's like, you cannot wear a free mustache ride T-shirt to the debate. Okay, they're gonna show you in the crowd at one point. Like, I'm not running.
You cannot stand behind me in a campaign rally wearing Crocs. All right.
No, the who farted shirt stays in the closet.
All right.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
I wish I could remember what story was it. There was some big court case that it might have even been the shooting, and remember the apartment, the woman who went into the wrong apartment. But anyway, I don't want to say it was for sure that. It was some big story that had shots of some man testifying, and he was pointing to a chart and talking to prosecutors and all that. All these pictures, he's got a Dragon Ball Z t-shirt on. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh,
like that. This isn't even just like you going to court over some BS ticket. This is like a big case that people are going to be talking about. Your picture's going to be taken. You're going to be on the news, dude.
I promise you this is tangentially related. Have either of you seen the movie American Factory?
American Factory? No.
It's on Netflix.
I've heard him talk about it on a podcast. So.
Yeah, it's about a plant, a GM plant that was shut down in a city in Ohio. Mm-hmm. A glass company from China comes in and buys it, and that's all the points you need to know. There's a meeting where initially some of the higher ups at the American plant go to China to meet with the company and all that and all this, and one of these motherfuckers is wearing like an Iron Maiden t-shirt and jeans.
One of the
American people.
Right.
I was like, dude, this is it's a business meeting. You ain't got a tie. And second of all, what be more Midwestern, please. Be more Midwestern.
Maybe it was just a seat on the board or something like that, or was he an actual exec?
He was actual exec. Like, these were guys that were going back, and I was just like...
He was thinking he was Bobby Axe.
I guess, but it was just... like I said, he had on a hat, an Iron Maiden t-shirt, some jeans. He looked like... It's like, dude, you're meeting the executives of the company that just bought you.
What type?
A baseball hat.
Yeah. You don't give a fuck then.
I guess. I was just taking, like, wow. Yeah, sorry. Back on track.
This is a documentary series?
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's a
documentary movie, or is this just?
Or it's a documentary. It's the Obama produced documentary.
Oh, okay.
He signed up to be a producer for some Netflix. This is the first one. But yeah, I said it was tangentially related to what we were talking about with the dressing appropriately.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can get away with it when you're at that level, like Bobby Axe does.
Now this dude on Bobby Axe, this dude was like a line supervisor.
Talk about misreading the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess executives are wrong. He's more like upper management, but he wasn't suit and tie. Like, I just was looking at him like, wow, man. Like, all right.
Right, so he probably should have just put on a polo.
Yeah, something with a collar. Yeah, and a pair of go buy a pair of fucking Dockers. They're like $20.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I got us off track. But is there anything more about the debates? Did we learn anything new from these debates?
What was everybody's answer about Ellen? Because that's what I base who I vote for on.
No, but do you know what the question was? What it was really? They used that situation to ask them if they had a friend or friends that people would be surprised they had. That was the closing fucking question at the Democratic debate.
And Joe Biden was like, I got a black friend. His name's Obama.
Yeah. I'd have just made shit up. I got an imaginary friend.
Yeah. Mr. Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
No, but I'm surprised Bernie wasn't like, well, that heart attack I had, actually it wasn't a heart attack. It was a panic attack because I took this edible that Snoop gave me. And I really shouldn't have fucked with it, but, yeah, it ain't no fun. You don't let the homies have none. So there you go. That's just, fuck it. Got to be me. Living my best life, dog. Oh, Christ. So essentially it was so if you want to have If you want to have a beer with this candidate, you have to have this friend tag along. How's this going to affect your vote? Really?
Did anyone have a surprising answer? I gotta know now. Like, did anyone actually come up with a name, or did they deflect and talk about how much they like to work across the aisle?
That's a very good question. I would like to talk about how Donald Trump's the worst president in United States history. It's like, wait, that's not an answer to the question.
No, the first question was about whether or not they think Trump should be impeached. Like shit that's going to matter at the ballot box.
So, in other words, no one really gave any, startling answer. No one come out with like.
Oh, hold on, leave it to People Magazine. How all the candidates answered the debate question about this.
Fucking People.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Julian Castro used it as something to pivot into. We should be holding people accountable for their actions. Blah, blah, blah. War criminal.
Did he actually say war criminal?
No. No. That's me adding hyperbole. My bad. I also believe we should hold people. I also believe that we should hold.
Okay.
People,
we don't have to read them all. I'm just curious if anyone threw a name out.
Tulsi Gabbard said her friendship with former Republican Trey Gowdy. Amy Klobuchar brought up John McCain.
That weird pinhead?
Yeah.
That's her buddy? Have you seen this guy?
I have not.
I'd recommend looking it up.
It's McCain, Sanders, and Biden all said John McCain.
I don't really think that's shocking whatsoever.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders. Bernie Sanders.
Barry Sanders said cocaine Wayne.
Bernie Sanders, what are you doing here? He said Utah Senator Mike Lee. Beto said Texas Republican Will Hurd.
See, now that's a bullshit answer. He was in punk bands. He was on NPR on their show that's focuses on Latino culture, and he was talking about how he was entrenched with the Latino punk bands in Texas. He could have come up with a serious answer that would have answered that question seriously and been legit, instead of just someone who's not a Democrat who's in politics.
Because it's Zach De La Rocha.
He could have come out with like any of the guys in Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, the question is, who would you? Yeah, it would. Yeah, you'd have to be surprised by the answer. Nobody's surprised by that answer. It's a non-typical answer, but everybody knows this about Beto already.
Kamala said Rand Paul. Cory Booker said Ted Cruz.
Rand Paul.
Tom Steyer said Deanna Barry.
So a guy I don't know mentioned someone else I don't know. Good for you, dude. Way to shove yourself into the public consciousness.
Andrew Yang spoke about his friendship with a Trump supporter named Fred. He let me ride in his truck for hours. He spent some time in jail. I heard about his experiences trying to get other people off drugs.
Yeah, so you talked to a Trump supporter once.
So is Fred going to be the new Joe Sixpack or Joe the Plumber?
Right. Pete Buttigieg just talked about being in the military.
I'm sorry, that's fucked up.
That's fair.
He's like, I was gay and I was in the military, so
everyone else.
Yeah.
Except for, a few of us who met down at the Blue Clam every once in a while. That's about it, though,
And Warren said her friendships with General Charles Freed, and that's it. Oh, she's got 3 brothers who are still Republicans, so I guess that counts. Yeah. Those are all the answers.
See,
I like still Republican.
That's what she said. That is a direct quote. That's not hyperbole from me.
That's perfect. There's so many people now that are referred to as still Republican.
I almost would have a little bit more respect for a candidate who gave an answer that was as absurd as the question was.
Yeah, I'd been like, Mickey fucking Mouse, this is a dumb question. Next.
Yeah.
Peter Griffin. Homer Simpson. Can we ask a real question, please? Someone just goes, we can't end a debate like this. No.
But don't you understand that in their polling, they found if you humanize yourself to your potential voting base, then, because there's some douchebag sitting back there who is like, well, we've done the poll work, and if you humanize the candidates, then blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up.
Don't humanize the candidate. Don't talk over people's heads. Start there. Talk to people like they're people. Talk to them, not at them.
So in other words, come out like Dave Chappelle when he was like, if a black guy was president and the world was going to end, he'd come out and be like, hey, guess what? I'm going to survive. Y'all are fucked. And by the way, aliens are real. Here's my friend. He brings out the alien and shit.
Yeah. Bibble.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, honestly, a dumb question, but it got people talking about the debate, right? The debate was in People magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, the debate was. Let's be honest.
The same magazine that has the stars just like us.
They eat
go
food
to the grocery
just
store.
like us.
Yeah.
Good times, good times. Well, forgive me for my ignorance of Elizabeth Warren's take on a lot of things. I understand that she's seen as the more progressive candidate, but to me, it's a little bit. I'm wondering if that's was part of the attacks on her, because I know that apparently some of it was the attacks were along the lines of how do you plan on funding all these programs that you're, proposing. And to me, that's a valid question. Because like I said, when I looked up, when I went to Bernie's website, did exactly what he said. Go to my website and you'll see how I plan on funding things. Okay. You plan on trying to get a bunch of shit passed that's never going to get passed.
I believe the price tag I've seen on Medicare for All is $8 trillion.
Well, I mean, I take those with a grain of salt because 4 years ago, it was, one number, and then boom, the minute Bernie started showing, signs of actual life that he might actually get the nomination for the Democrats, that number got inflated overnight. And so forgive me, my conspiracy theory, my conspiracy theorist deep inside, but I'm just like, come on. You went from 2.5, trillion to 7 trillion in 8 hours. Really? Okay.
Wait, but I mean, sure. When you talk about numbers in the trillions, it all sounds really big, right? But compared to what? Like, what did you say the price tag on Medicare for All was, Chris?
$8 trillion.
$8 trillion. Okay. In order to have that number make any sense to you, you would have to know what do Americans currently spend on healthcare. I don't know
for the Google machine.
I don't know what that number is. I bet you it's a lot more than 8 trillion. So Warren's actually, in my opinion, handled these questions the best because Bernie wants to throw out there that he's got a plan for everything and that he knows upfront how he's going to pay for everything. But like you said, it's dependent on getting things passed that are not going to be easy, like both Bernie and Warren were talking about having a wealth tax.
By the way, according to CMS.gov in 2017, was $3.5 trillion we were spending on healthcare as a country.
$3.5 trillion over the course of a year.
Yes.
And where was the other number, the proposed number? Was that for 1 year of universal healthcare?
Stand by.
Well, the numbers I were hearing were over a 4 or 5 year stretch.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Where I was like, they inflated it, obviously, like overnight for a scare tactic.
God damn it! Why can't I find this?
I don't know. I was asking because I thought it was out there. I believe that number. I saw the same number, and I don't think that was for 1 year. I believe it was for like a 4 or 5 year period. But
Bernie's would cost $34 trillion over 10 years, which essentially is keeping it where it's at now.
Well, yeah.
34 divided by 10 is 3.4.
But there's also the difference in how that number is distributed, right? Under their current system, that means some people just paying normal healthcare premiums, some people not even having healthcare and paying almost nothing because they just happen to be healthy, and others going bankrupt from hospital bills, where even though the price hasn't changed according to the rough numbers that we're looking at that you just mentioned from Bernie's universal health care plan, that number is distributed evenly. But all the same, we don't know. Like, this is all just pie in the sky thinking. When we actually start, the idea, at least for me, going into a campaign is, what are the issues that this politician is actually going to take a stance on and try and get something done on? And healthcare is one of them. The idea that you have it solved, that anybody has this solved and has a plan that they know is going to fix our broken healthcare system without actually even being in the office of the presidency yet, I don't know how you do that.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, when they put together these big plans like this, they had, it goes through, the lawmakers all get together, they decide what they want and don't want in there, and then they send it over to, I forget the name of the organization, but they get the CBO score on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They actually have number crunchers that go, okay, according to all the things that you want to happen in this is what we think it's actually going to cost. This is what you would have to raise in taxes or allocate in order to pay for this program. So, we don't have that process for, I saw people mention, like, I'd like to see the CBO numbers for Bernie's plan. Yeah, that would be nice if we had a system like that, one that we could rely on, that wasn't politically driven.
Because that's the thing. It's whatever the idea is now, if it does get passed, it's not going to be the current iteration of it, right? I mean, the ACH or whatever it was, Obamacare. I mean, that ended up being a shell of what Obama wanted, correct?
Right. And I think we get to, having more information is a good thing, right? But it also allows us to get too in the weeds on all of this shit instead of focusing on the bigger picture. Our big issues and are going to involve a lot of change and a lot of effort from a lot of people. Whether it's healthcare, whether it's doing something about education, or whether it's doing something about homelessness, climate change. These are all big things. These are problems that we want to tackle that are akin to the landing on the moon. It's going to take multiple years and planning and effort and failure and learning from that failure along the way to actually get these things in a state that we want them to be. And when we decided that we wanted to go to the moon, the president just said, hey, we're fucking doing this. We're going to the goddamn moon. He didn't say, we're going to the moon and it's going to cost us X amount of millions of dollars. So what, if we spend all that money and we don't get to the moon, we just stop? We decide that the goal's not worth it anymore?
But could argue this is a different political climate in 1963. Somebody came out now and said that they would instantly go, well, how are we going to pay for that?
Okay, but also it was framed as part of the Cold War, and when you it's just like we were talking about going to war with Iraq. Very few people were talking about the actual financial cost of the war as a deterrent to go to war with Iraq. It was more no blood for oil. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Does he or does he not have weapons of mass destruction? We're not even sure yet. I don't remember the mass people who were against the war going, do you understand how much this is going to cost? That came later.
Also, but you're looking at it in hindsight, Chris, because I don't think that the political climate is all that different. I'm positive that when Kennedy said, we're going to go to the moon, there are a lot of Republicans that went, this guy's fucking crazy. And how much is that going to cost us? We're going to waste all this money trying to do what? beat the Russians to a place with nothing on it.
Until their advisors pulled them aside and said, "Do you know how much money we could fucking skim off the top of this? Shut up and support it."
Yeah, and it was because it was, eventually the whole country got on board when it was a status symbol. When they realized it for the thing that it was something to be proud of. That we accomplished this thing.
Well, not only that, but you also, once again, they were what, 3, maybe 4 years removed total from Sputnik going into space, and that scared the shit out of everybody in America because they're like, "Oh my God, the Russians have something orbiting in space above us," and all the fucking thing did was send a signal back down to Earth. But I mean, people, they're beating us. They're beating us at this. They can't beat us at this. That was the motivation. And so, like I said, once you put fear and couple it with, we're doing this because these people are going to do something and we don't know what they're going to do with it if they get there before us.
Okay, but we're getting in the weeds here. I merely brought it up as a point of comparison. I didn't we're really digging deep on the space race now.
Well, I guess my point is that we sit here and we, when we're talking about healthcare as a country, it's always, okay, well, if we have, universal coverage, how much is it going to cost us? Mm. And I'm like, okay, so people who are opposed to it, they're like, I don't want to pay for your health care. But you have no problem with your tax money going to bomb other countries that you've never even fucking heard of for reasons that you don't even bother to learn. Why is that? Why are you so worried about somebody getting something that they might need to survive versus us arbitrarily drone, striking some village somewhere in the Middle East and taking out fucking innocent people? Your tax money, when that happens, that's fine. Hey, that's just collateral damage. God forbid my tax money actually goes to, I don't know, help fellow Americans. To me, that's where the argument should go. But none of these politicians got the balls to say this shit.
Right. Any of these quote unquote entitlement programs are just looked at on the right as a bunch of people who are a handout to people who have gamed the system, right? I worked hard for what I had, and these people just cried and got shit anyway.
And once again, yeah, in a small percentage of cases, that does happen.
Yes.
But it's not, it's like, okay, it's like when entitlement programs, when I first started hearing the Republicans throw that term out, and then eventually somehow that term became an umbrella that Social Security was put under. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not an entitlement. We paid that shit. That's our fucking money.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Don't act like you're a magnanimous fucking ruler because you're giving me back my money that I've given to you at an interest-free loan for most of my fucking life. Fuck you. But no, I don't understand why. I mean, I understand the politicians can't put them in that language, not if they want to continue to be en masse from the Democrats. And just like, I don't understand why the counterattack to what's going to cost, healthcare is going to cost us much. Yes, but we're going to do so much with the fact that we're not going to have entire families going into debt over someone getting cancer in their family. I mean, we're not talking just that doesn't just affect the person with cancer and their husband. That affects everybody in that family. If you've ever seen a family devastated by medical debt, you understand that, like, inheritances, property, all go away just to keep pumping money into trying to keep this person alive. So now we create a bunch of poor people. All your future
security, yeah.
Yes, now we create a bunch of poor people because, well, fuck those people if they can't afford their own shit. That's not my problem. Okay, well, do you see the circular problem here? Well, you don't like poor people, you don't want to help poor people, but you can be a solidly middle class person, have a medical emergency happen, and end up poor, and then the cycle starts all over again. I mean, I really don't understand why the politicians who support this don't take that stance and just pound on that like they did with, changing gay marriage to marriage equality. They pounded that into the fucking heads of the American people to the point where most people now look at it as, oh yeah, marriage equality. I don't care if you get married if you're gay. It's not gay marriage. It is that to a certain, percentage of people, but that's always going to be that way. That's their religion, is what you're dealing with mostly there. I mean, we can change the perception. It's part of the propaganda machine.
Right. Well, the reason that I'm for universal health care is because it's the best idea that I've heard for actually taking the current system that we have and changing it into something that's affordable and is not going to ruin people when they get seriously ill. It doesn't have to be, I don't think that the ultimate answer to this and all of our problems is the government. And ideally, I wouldn't want to have to rely on my government to control the type of healthcare that I have access to. And it's also the government's fault that we're in this situation. This is one of those markets that's that is half regulated, right? So I don't know. Anyway, it's just grown out of control. And I don't hear another plan that doesn't involve the government just stepping in and taking control of it that would actually do something about it. These half measures of talking about controlling prescription drug costs are never going to work. It's never going to.
I do understand. We know what lobbyists is the answer, but I just don't understand why we're not taking these companies to tasks. Hey, why does this shit cost so much? Why is your margin on this so much when I can go to this, I can walk into a drugstore and get this for you know what I'm saying? It reminds me of the same thing that they're doing with student loans. It seems to be like we're asking the wrong questions to the wrong people.
Well, to me, the way it hit home for me was my doctor said go on a low dose aspirin regimen. Wrote me a prescription for low dose aspirin. I took it to the pharmacy. They want to charge me $20 for a month's supply. I said, you can put that back in wherever you got that from. I walked 2 aisles over, grabbed a bottle of low dose aspirin Bear, went up to the counter and paid $2 for it and walked the fuck out. I mean, seriously, why? Because it's coming from behind that counter, is it that much of a markup?
Mandy has a medication that before we got married and I put her on my insurance, it was $30. And by the way, you had to use that GoodRx program to get it, because you go to somewhere like Target, it was $300 fucking dollars. And now, because she has my insurance, it's $2. $2. Why such the disparity for the same fucking thing?
I don't know. I'm at a loss for this. I'm at a loss to answer that, let alone come up with a solution to it. And everybody who says they have the solution for it, one person says, here's the solution. I hear 3 people shout that person down. Then you ask one of those 3 people what their solution is, and then those 3 people get together and shout that person down. I'm just to the point where I'm like, I don't fucking know. I guess I'll just do my best to hang on until, it's my time to go. That's all I can do. I don't know.
Well, right. That's why I don't think that the question should be, if you're going to argue about universal health care, the question isn't how do you pay for it? The question is simply, do you think that it's a good idea? Do you think that everyone should have affordable coverage?
Yes.
I mean,
but I'm not sure the government is the one to give it to them.
Right. Ideally not. But who else is going to do it?
But the government could be handling it a different way, taking these companies to task. Maybe, I don't know, putting in some, maybe the legislative branch could be the legislative branch and perhaps craft some laws.
Right. So, but you're talking about the government controlling the price. And I don't know that, certainly there's other ways to do it other than the government being the sole customer, the single payer system that the government pays for the healthcare that gets distributed to everyone. I think that's honestly the cheapest and most effective way to control costs. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to stay like that forever either. I mean, there are examples like in our home loan system with Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac of the government stepping in to take control over something that has gone wildly out of control.
Well, yeah, they did the same thing with the student loans.
And they regulated the costs. They made it so that people could afford could actually get approved for loans and loans that they could afford. And then they re-privatized the system.
So does that mean private banks will be giving out student loans again soon?
Well, the student loan, I think they already turned that all over. The government's not in the student loan business anymore, and they're certainly not in the...
yeah, they are. Since 2010, they've been in the student loan business.
I thought they got rid of that shit.
I live with someone who's still paying off student loans. The government is in control of it now, I believe.
Well, I mean, isn't that what the government's there for? Everybody else, it's a service that is needed by people, and the people running the service have fucked the system up so bad that the government is the safety net that comes in and goes, okay, before this whole thing collapses in on itself, we got to do something to keep this going. I mean, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is what the government is there to be, the collective action, the will of the people. Right, when we have, in this country, the government is there to basically be an oversight on capitalism. And when capitalism gets out of control, we have government regulation to fix things.
Once again, I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, our job isn't to know, right? As a voter, our job is to know what we do and do not want out of our government. What are the current problems that this country is facing that are so big that only the government can handle these things? I mean, you have to establish your goals first and then figure out how you pay for everything. And maybe that means that the things that don't get it as high up on the priority list just don't get paid for.
But see, I can't.
But if you put something like climate change or healthcare or something like that as that number one issue, well, then that's where most of your resources should be going.
But Aaron, do you run your personal finances that way? I'll just make this huge purchase and figure it out later.
That's not the same thing, though. It's not a huge purchase that you're making up front.
It's a huge purchase that you're essentially financing.
No, it's a plan. You have a plan for your life. Like, I have a plan to afford the things that I want. That plan doesn't involve, counting my way into enough credit to buy the thing and then figure out how to pay for it later. That plan is how to put myself in a position where I can afford it. So what I'm saying is healthcare isn't equivalent to buying a big screen TV. It's equivalent to lining yourself up in life to be successful. It's a longer term goal.
Well, that's like a mortgage. But you can't get a mortgage if you can't afford it. They got to make sure you can afford it before they give it to you.
No, it's more about deciding what you want, right? If you want to have a family, right, you're going to have the right house for that family to live in. You don't buy the house first and then decide to, what people you're going to fill it with afterward.
We got this 5-bedroom house. We better get the fucking.
You set yourself on a path to go, okay, well, if these are the things that I want, then here's the things that I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to get a certain level of education. I'm going to have to strive for the right jobs. When you're talking about something as huge, and this isn't one thing, healthcare in the U.S. It's many different businesses, some of them regulated, some of them not. And if you want to change the way that system works, then you have to start setting your goals basically first as to what it is that you want before you can decide how you can start allocating funds to further those goals.
Well, there's a difference between what you want and what you can afford.
Okay, but we can't afford healthcare.
I want a 2,000 square foot house. I can afford a 1,000 square foot house. That's the reality of it.
don't get your argument, though. That, are you saying that we can't afford healthcare? That we
just going, hey, I want a 5-bedroom house because I need a 5-bedroom house. Great. You got to be able to show that you can afford it. I said, I'm not
talking about
trying
saying,
to inject
like,
pragmatism into government.
I want a 5-bedroom house and I'm going to go out and buy that 5-bedroom house. I'm saying I want a 5-bedroom house and I want that 5-bedroom house with a family and everything, and I'm going to set myself on a path to achieve that goal.
Well, again, but like I said, I'm making the mistake here. I'm trying to inject pragmatism into government because I don't see the government I don't see the government doing what you just said, setting up their goals for what they want and all that. I don't see the government doing that.
And we have done it before when issues are important enough. That's why I use the moon landing as an example.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
All right.
Okay, so should we talk about something not so heavy?
Right.
Never mind.
Are you broken?
No, I was just debating whether to bring up something that I didn't bring up in a pre-show chat. And it's like, no, we got plenty of time to talk about it. It's not a time-sensitive subject. It is kind of heavy. The whole Hong Kong, China, NBA issue here. Chris, you can probably explain it the best out of us two. So why don't you give it a go here?
The NBA recently played a bunch of games in China because they have a pretty decent sized market in China because, Nike. But $1 billion of their revenue does come from the Chinese market. And the owner of the Houston Rockets put out a tweet in support of the protesters in Hong Kong. And the NBA told him, hey, shut up. It's conflict of interest. And that's when the whole shitstorm started.
Well, what makes the shitstorm...
Didn't China actually take some sort of action?
Yeah, they're not showing the NBA's games in China at the moment, and they apparently don't have any plans to.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting shitstorm that started, at least the interesting part to me, is that certain people involved in the NBA, coaches, players, who've been very vocal about, social justice issues, human rights issues, basically came down on the side of the NBA and China and were like, yeah, be quiet. And it's like, wait, what? That's what threw me for the loop, because I'm like, aren't you the same people who were speaking out in support of Colin Kaepernick kneeling and, wearing...
Who are these people?
Coaches in the NBA, players in the NBA, who had spoken out previously over the last 4 or 5 years on social justice issues and had supported people like Colin Kaepernick and, Black Lives Matter. And their argument was, well, I have the right to support this, even if some of our fans don't like it. And I mean, a lot of the argument against Colin Kaepernick was, well, wants him kneeling because it's going to piss off a certain percentage of fans and it's going to cost the NFL money. And every time that argument was brought up to a lot of these people, their response was, so you're going to put profits over people? And now they seem to be doing the exact same thing that the NFL did when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. They're, hey, look, you can't criticize China. Why not? Because it affects your paycheck?
Yeah, I mean, it affects it in a more direct way.
But I mean, if they were so passionate and they were so righteous in their belief that you should put people over profits in other cases, but when it, like I said, hits their bank account.
They were talking about American people, to be fair. Right?
Yes.
These are Chinese people.
Correct. And a lot of these people have come out and called Trump a dictator, and yet no problem with China. It's ruled by an actual dictator.
And if you don't know the inner workings of the NBA's biggest sponsor is Nike. I think Nike does all their jerseys, et cetera, et cetera. Nike's huge in, as far as being intertwined with the NBA. Nike also happens to have 110 factories in China making their products and 10 factories that produce the materials to make those products in China. And, we all remember the "just do it no matter what it costs" Colin Kaepernick, ad. And, well, don't you feel the same way about China and their human rights violation, Nike? And Nike took a look at their bank account and said, no, not really.
Yeah. No, I mean, you think having that type of presence would give them at least a little bit of leverage in China, but it's actually the complete opposite. Like, China will fill those factories within a week.
Yeah.
They don't need Nike. They don't need it. Well,
somebody wants Adidas. You want some factories?
Yeah.
Get Converse on the phone. They'll keep their mouth shut.
Yeah.
But
right. I mean, look what happened with, the whole Apple blowback over their factories in China after the suicide nets and all that shit. They're starting to talk more about, well, we want more of our products made in America. Their new MacBooks, I think they're making in Texas. China hasn't said a peep about any of that. No, I don't think anyone in China got down on their knees and said, please, Apple, don't take a 10% of your business away outside of our country.
No, because China's got 22 kookaroos.
Right. And if China wants the NBA in their country because they see it, as it's something that the people like, right? It's harmless enough. It's probably looked at as positive American culture. But yeah, as soon as you start criticizing the government, no, they're going to shut you down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to lose anything.
No.
But that's going to make the people riot, shutting down the NBA. If you haven't already started rioting in China.
Well, people are fighting for their human rights in Hong Kong. And you'd think that these people who, if this was riots like, the Ferguson riots or something like that, they came out and supported, the civil unrest and not the rioting, not that part, but the protesting. You figure that they would support the protests in Hong Kong, regardless of how it affects their paycheck, because they obviously believed in it so much they spoke out about it here. Why can't you speak out about it there? That's what I don't understand. Because if it comes down to money, then just say it comes down to money, because then I could dismiss your opinion because you have no principles. Your principles go with how big your bank account is. And if that's where you are and that's where you stand and you try to present yourself as a principles over profit person, I know you're full of shit and I can treat you accordingly. My problem isn't that they're kowtowing to keeping their bank account full. My problem is that they're lying about it and they're trying to act like they're still taking the high road. No, you're not. You're taking the keep your bank account full road. So knock your bullshit off. It's safe here to express an opinion that goes against the government or goes against the police or goes against whatever here. These people want that same right in their country. You can't find it in your heart to support them? Well, I can't find it in my heart to take you at your word that this is coming from a righteous place.
Well, especially you had LeBron James come out and essentially say, stay in your lane about the owner of the Houston Rockets.
Yes, we do have freedom of speech, but at times there are ramifications for the negative that can happen when you're not thinking about others and only thinking about yourself.
Normally, I would agree with that sentiment, but this is the man who got upset 2 years ago when Laura Ingraham told him to shut up and dribble.
He goes on to say, I believe Maury, I guess, who was the man who tweeted,
yep.
Right, wasn't educated on the situation at hand.
Which is false.
And he spoke, and so many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. What the fuck is he talking about?
He's talking about Brown's got to get paid. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. He's not only financially, but physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But yeah, but what you really mean is just financially.
Got $1 billion shoe contract with Nike, but he's worrying about his money.
Right. LeBron's wallet actually opened up and said, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Stop talking. Like that wallet from the Geico commercial from like 10 years ago with the googly eyes.
I mean, so like I said, if you are just hardcore capitalist to the bone, the dollar is the bottom line, that is your outlook, and you've always presented yourself as that, I can't be upset if he took this stance. But to take the stance that, the coaches, Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich, who are known as being the most quote unquote woke coaches, and that's not me calling them that. That's the sports world and themselves embracing that label. The most woke coaches in the NBA. Not very woke of you to sit here and start saying, shh, you can't talk about these people who are fighting for their human rights. That's not.
Right. If you take LeBron's comments out of context, they seem perfectly logical to address a lot of given situations. But let's keep in mind, the subject at hand is human rights. Human rights.
Yeah.
And the fact that you put money into the conversation, I mean, I understand that's what the bottom line on this is, but that's your defense, and you actually talk about those who will be financially hurt because you take exception to how another country treats its own citizens.
And just to put this in perspective, NPR did a story on this. Nike's profits are more than the NBA and the NFL's profits combined.
Well,
whoa!
So if Nike loses $1 billion worth of business from China, that ain't hurting any. They're not going to go out of business, folks. Let's be honest here. All right.
Yeah. This kind of reeks of, I hate to even go here, but it reeks of the House N-word saying this situation ain't so bad, right? Like there's the field workers are complaining. He's like, shut up. I got it pretty good.
Kinda, yeah.
I got a bedroom.
And like I said,
and again, I'm not calling LeBron the N-word.
No, we all
I'm
understand.
calling him an Uncle Tom.
It's just
this was the guy that got upset. One of his old coaches used the word posse.
Yeah, but this does bring. So now I finally understand the meme that I was seeing. You know, the one, isn't it LeBron that's doing the arms out and the exasperated look on his face? Like, he looks like he's like, why aren't you throwing to that guy?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
That's exactly what that was. Yeah.
Right. But so they put LeBron doing that face, and the guy holding the ball is human rights, and what he's gesturing to is Chinese money.
Well, I mean, in that same story that NPR did, they had a financial analyst on there, and he said, well, one of the unspoken rules in dealing with any type of business with China is if you want to deal with China, there are three things, the three T's you don't bring up. You don't bring up Taiwan, you don't bring up Tibet, and you don't bring up Tiananmen Square. Mm-hmm. Those are business. Those are third rails. You touch it, you're done. And if we're so quick to call out rights violations in our own country and hold ourselves to this standard, what's wrong about holding another country to a standard when they have, I mean, just horrible record on human rights, just a disgusting record on human rights. And we're not talking, we don't have to go back 150 years to point at their worst sin. We just have to point back to, a couple decades.
But let me put it this way for you, Rich. Let's say you got your next door neighbor is beating his dog and his wife. You might call somebody. You might report him.
I would kick his ass for beating a dog, and I'd ask him, "What'd your wife do?"
Okay.
Sorry.
But what if that neighbor's your landlord? Might be some more things you're willing to let slide.
Okay, well then, you know what? I probably shouldn't be out there doing anti-domestic violence and commercials for PETA.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have any problem with what LeBron said if he wouldn't have been all upset when Laura Ingraham did the whole shut up and dribble thing a couple years ago.
I'm just talking about calling China out in general. Mm-hmm. Like the reason that not that like LeBron or the NBA's opinion even matters about it. The government's opinion matters about it, and the way that our government treats China is like, we're going to comply. We're not going to talk about any of that shit because we want to have a healthy relationship because you own a chunk of our country.
And can I throw an extra special fuck you out to Steve Kerr? Rich, did you hear his response when he talked about, I think there's human rights violations in our own country we need to address first? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Okay.
They don't even, they pale in comparison to the shit that's gone on in China.
See, this is, just admit how these people just need to admit how they feel. There's one set of standards for them, and then us unwashed masses need to go by the set of standards that they have for us, which, by the way, are completely polar opposites of the standards they have for themselves. Because that's what this smacks of. If these people didn't talk down to people about social justice issues and act like, they're so much more enlightened, that would also go a long way. You know what I'm saying? Now, if he said, look, every country has horrible things in their past, all right? And we should, and yeah, if you're for human rights, you should call them out regardless of what country it is, be it mine or China. I could respect that point of view. But to act like we have to be, what kind of Bible bullshit is that? I mean, why didn't he just get up there and say, he who is without sin cast the first stone?
Which probably would have been more apt, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's not an argument at all. It's whataboutism.
Yeah. It's boom, hot take. I'll take Trump over Mao any day.
Well, it's like, do you want to be shot in the knee or the gut? Well, shit, Can I go neither? No. Fuck.
I think it's more like, do you want to be shot or stabbed?
Yeah, fair enough. But it's like, when I have conversations with a certain family member and, he justifies violence against anyone who's to the right of Bernie Sanders because he considers them all Nazis. And Nazis deserve to be killed upon sight, yet he calls himself an avowed communist. And when I point out the body count communism has, he goes, first of all, it's not 100 million. It's like maybe 30 million. And second of all, most of them bodies are because interference from America in communist countries. That's why those people died.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay.
Find a history book, open it to China in the 70s, and start reading.
Well, when you're dealing with someone like that, you're dealing with someone who can't go, yeah, you're right, I was being hypocritical there. Maybe I should rethink my position. Or, I was being a little hypocritical. Maybe I really don't need to throw my 2 cents in on every issue that comes across my news feed. I could respect that. It's this, I will never reverse myself. I will never apologize, and I'm always right. And I'm going to pound you constantly until you finally give up and go, whatever, and then I'm going to take a victory lap because I won. You didn't win. The other person stopped playing the game. And America has its own human rights violations to address. Really? Yeah, I know. You guys point them out every fucking single time you can. And guess what? A lot of shit's been done. I mean, we're not as... I know people like to think that they live in the worst time in America ever right now, but it is probably one of the best times to be an American ever in the history of our fucking very young country.
It's one of the best times to be alive in human history in general.
Yeah, certainly. Nobody's trying to say that, I guess some people are trying to say that America is perfect, but I don't think any reasonable thinking person thinks that this country is perfect. But if China just got to America 100 years ago, that would be progress.
Yeah. If we could just get you to 1776, China.
Well, I mean, it's exactly it. And if someone was to say America's perfect, we would rightfully so go, shut up, mouth breather, go jack off on a flag. What the fuck's wrong with you? But if someone goes, America's just absolutely horrible, there's nothing good about America, a lot more people will stand up and clap than they should. And they need to take a good hard look in the mirror and realize Are you clapping for the right reasons, or you just want to be against something? It's like people who define their taste in music not by what they like, but what they hate. You're just an asshole. Instead of trying to fucking turn people on to music you like that you consider good music, you rather walk around shitting on everybody's taste instead. It's easier to tear down than it is to fucking create. It's easier to destroy than it is to build. Most traveled.
Oh, you sound like my wife. It's much easier to be a dick than it is to be nice.
It fucking absolutely is. Trust me, I have to fight that fucking fight every goddamn day. And when I lose, I feel bad about it. Believe me, being a righteous person has a set of morals, a code, whatever you want to fucking call it, and adhering to it the best you can is not an easy thing. It's easy to walk around and shit on everything everyone else does because it's stupid. It's dumb. I don't like it. And when you start putting it in the realm of politics, it's real easy to start calling everybody fucking Hitler. I mean, isn't there a rule in debate that after a certain point in a debate, someone has to invoke Hitler or the Nazis? It's such a fucking trope to do that. Yet people do it and they think they're the first to fucking do it. It's like the whole thing with Trump. Oh, we have a literal Nazi as president.
No, we don't.
Really? Do we have swastikas flying? Are people dressed up in those SS uniforms that Hugo Boss designed? I don't think so. Literal Nazis, and then it turns into, oh, you need someone to wear the costume. Oh, I get it. You're not enlightened enough. You see what I'm saying? You're an asshole, dude. You're goalpost moving and you're being an asshole. And you know it and you don't care. So fuck you. Your opinion is invalid now because you don't stand on anything. You're not standing on firm ground here. It's just very irritating because it's like, yeah, we got our fucking problems and we should address them. And I've defended some of these athletes and coaches on Sporgy for speaking out on these subjects, and now I feel like I'm an asshole who got sucked into it because really they have no moral fucking compass.
To use a crude phrase, they showed their ass.
Exactly. And by the way, I've yet to hear any of these people apologize or walk back any of their statements. I haven't even heard the half-ass, maybe I need to get more educated. But I have heard the condescending, people who disagree with me need to get more educated. That's the most condescending bullshit, passive-aggressive bullshit you could say in that situation. Yet it's coming out of these people's fucking mouth holes, and no one's calling them on the shit because everyone's afraid of, we don't want to look like we're attacking someone who's for social justice. They're not for social justice. They're for their pocketbook.
See,
we've proven that.
You need to get educated on the number of things that trump human rights in this world. Yeah. That's what apparently you need an education on.
My answer to those people would be like, all right, educate me. Here, let's talk. Let's have a dialogue. We're here. We're talking. This is the subject. Let's go.
And when LeBron said that people need to get educated, he said, but I'm not going to go into the, oh, fuck. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. He basically said, I'm not going to go into the minutia of what they need to get educated about. But they need to get educated. Well, then why bring it up then?
Yeah.
Because it makes you, it's virtue signaling at its worst. It's not virtue signaling because you truly believe in those virtues. It's trying to cover up your own greed with this veneer of fucking, I have such concern and care about human rights. No, the fuck you don't.
It's justifying your hypocrisy. It's trying to rationalize it. I'd rather you just be honest and go, hey, man, they're fucking with my money. That's the most honest take, right? Don't fuck with my money. I got 4 kids. I got a huge nut. You seen the size of my house?
I forget what movie. I forget what movie it was, but there was in a movie a cop said, I have a begrudging respect for gangsters and hookers because at least they're being honest. You know what I'm saying? The hooker's like, the only reason I'm fucking you is because you're giving me money, and a gangster's like, what drug do you want? I don't care what it does to you as long as you can pay your bill. I don't give a shit what you do with this fucking substance I'm selling you. Hey, at least they're honest.
Who was it that said when they found out someone was skimming off the top, they're like, How can you trust somebody who doesn't take care of themselves?
I think that was in Serpico. I mean, I know the sentiment was in there. How can you trust a cop who doesn't steal? And I'm like, wait, what? Wait.
Well, the thing is, like, I think an argument could actually be made. I don't know that they have a lot of success with it, but an argument could be made to, like, let's not rock the boat with this China thing because we want the NBA in China, right? Because yes, they are paying a lot of money to the NBA, and our presence in China also means that we get to sell a lot of merchandise over there as well. But that's a what do you call it? It's like the NBA is like a cultural ambassador for the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
And does anyone think that the NBA is in a position to change China's views on human rights or to change anything in that country? No. But if you want to talk about, a China with the NBA having a presence in that country and a China that doesn't, I think we'd all like to see the one that has the NBA in there. Not thinking that it's going to be changed, but we've seen this happen before. It's not that Levi's and Big Macs took down Russia, but that was part of the trickle. The more that our culture seeped into that country, the more people started realizing that there was another way. So it can make a difference. And I think that's what they should really be leaning on. Like the problem is that they would have to then at some point talk about human rights in that. And if they talk about human rights at all, then they're going to be out of fucking China.
But Aaron, if they did that, how would we know they're woke?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a very practical way to look at it.
I agree with you, but it's unfortunately we don't live in that world. Not in 2019.
I mean, one of the things
I wonder how come there's more backlash against this with the NBA and less so with Google, where Google has acquiesced to the Chinese government decided to outright filter out search results depending on what the government, the Chinese government deems as acceptable.
Right, because there's a universal admiration or love of Google, right? Everybody likes Google. Everybody that you talk to, at some point in the day, Google is part of their lives, right? But there's Rich and I talk about all the time on Sporgy, there's always going to be this contingent of people who don't like sports and want to talk massive amounts of shit about it.
Right.
Well, I mean, let's also not forget that Google doesn't just delete or censor, search results in China. They also do it here in America. I mean, up until 8chan was shut down, you could put 8chan into Google search engine and you would not get a link to 8chan.
But now, you can go to it. Like you can type into your browser an address and go to the website. You might not get it in search results, and that does make a difference, but it's not really the same as what's happening in China where they are just outright blocking IPs.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is maybe Google's intelligent enough to go like, let's keep maybe we don't need to throw our fucking hat into this ring because we kind of play fast and loose with what, we show on our search results depending on the country that you do the search from. Well, and I mean, if that's the case, then the one thing I can say about Google, at least they're smart enough to know the room.
Well, they're a worldwide company. How are you going to dominate the globe if you piss off 1/7 of the population?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
It's clearance season at Target. Save up to 70% off thousands of amazing finds like sweaters, sleepwear, outerwear, and shoes for the entire family. So shop the best clearance deals at Target, where low prices and great deals make it easy to save.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
I mean, however Google has done it, they've managed to walk the line quite well in ways that I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg is envious of.
Marky Mark?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of going through the same thing. Not that it involves U.S. and China. It involves our own internal divisions of Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, once again, somebody hung out with someone who's on the opposite side of the aisle of them, so we have to torch them. We have to give them what for. Because
Here's my question. What exactly, I mean, did he just meet with politicians who are Republicans to talk?
He met specifically with conservatives to assure them that he wasn't taking a side, that he wasn't, filtering out results to be beneficial to liberals, or that he wasn't going to take a stance on political ads that have, he doesn't want to get into policing that he wants Facebook to be considered a place for free speech for both conservatives and Democrats. So that was part of his outreach mission.
Which I'm not mad at him for that.
I mean, I don't know
everyone to have a fair shot.
He was interviewed recently with, he was interviewed by Dana Perino, and he says, my belief is that in a democracy, I don't think that we want private companies censoring politicians in the news. He says, I generally believe that as a principle, people should decide what is credible and what they want to believe, who they want to vote for. And I don't think that should be something that we want tech companies or any kind of company doing.
So you're going to let Alex Jones back on? That'd be my first question. Reinstating Alex Jones page?
Right. Well, okay, so but he's specifically talking about politicians and not pundits here.
Fair point.
But I wonder if it would be different. Like, what if Alex Jones ran for office?
Yeah.
Would he suddenly get back on Facebook?
Oh,
would
God.
Would he be allowed to be back on Facebook and Twitter?
Oh, Jesus. Don't even tempt fate. You're like, it's like in Star Wars. It can't get worse. It's worse. Alex Jones is running for office.
Right, but I think it's a fair question, though.
I do too.
It is.
If he's gonna walk the walk, he would have to, right?
I would think so.
So what I'm taking away from this is that basically, good old Zuck, his sin is being that horrible thing that's like, also called a centrist on this issue. He's not taking a stance that's appeasing to the left or to the right completely 100%. So how dare he? Well, that's what it seems like, how it's coming off.
Well, most of the flack has come from the left because he dared to sit down with conservatives. So hashtag delete Facebook is showing up again, and I bet all these people still have their Instagram accounts. Just saying.
Well, this is what's just so weird, because I know we all clearly remember when it was, the left who was, championing free speech and this and that. And now it's like, okay, so if you don't, and it was the Republicans and the religious right who, if you don't agree with us, shut it down. I don't like it, shut it down. Mm-hmm. And it's just flip-flopped.
Okay, but I understand that he wants to treat politicians differently than he treats other material on Facebook, but why? I mean, it's not like Facebook wants to be completely, at this point, they don't want to be completely open because people are running into things that they're offended by, right? So they want to filter out a certain number of things. But they also want to, they're putting their input out there as to this post may not be correct. There's some things in here that have been disproven. There are disclaimers, there are asterisks that they are putting on certain things. So they're already making these decisions in certain areas. I don't know why it would stop with politicians.
It's a good question. Did not think of it that way, quite honestly.
Well, I can't lie. I'm not very comfortable with the fact that he's like, well, as long as it's a political ad, even if it's stating, stating things that we know to be false, they have a right to post that. Well, yeah. A right, I guess, if you let them. You are a private company. You can't.
They don't have a right to post it, but you're deciding that they have a right to post it, and you're deciding that other people either don't have a right to post their stuff at all, like Alex Jones, or get flagged in some way that alerts the reader that this might be bullshit.
I mean, now I understand in an article I saw that Martin Luther King's daughter said that misinformation, by the way, this was a very poorly worded headline, but it was in an article that came from a pretty far right source when I looked up the source. It said that they framed it as Martin Luther King's daughter says Facebook misinformation killed her father. And I'm like, wait, what? No. I'm like, no. It's
Something from 40 years in the future killed her dad.
I was like, does she have dementia? And are they taking advantage of this? And then I read the article, and no, what she was saying is disinformation led to a lot of anger and hatred towards her father, which fed into people's already, anger, hatred, fear, whatever, of what he was trying to do, and fueled that fire. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I don't know how comfortable I am with. Well, we know that this politician is going to take this ad and pay Facebook to put it on Facebook, and we know it's going to be full of bullshit. But hey, that's his right to free speech. Well, wait a minute. How much bullshit is allowed? Because what if he's literally? I mean, what if essentially in that ad, it's screaming fire in a crowded theater?
You took the words out of my mouth.
Calling for violence or something.
Yeah. When does this cross over into shouting fire when there isn't none?
Right. Because what this, again, like the NBA, this is really just about money. They know that he doesn't want to turn down the money from the ads from conservatives where he knows that they might be saying things that are untrue. And he also knows that if those ads don't get posted on Facebook, they'll get posted somewhere else where the conservatives who want to see those ads will go and view them. If they don't go up on Facebook, they go up on YouTube.
Well, if somebody's going to get paid to run this bullshit, might as well be Facebook.
And let's bring this point up. Why not? Facebook's a publicly traded company now, right? Which means there's a shareholder, which means there's a board. There might be some Republicans on that board.
Well, right, but it's the idea that Zuckerberg is trying to defend this action like he's upholding free speech. I mean, it's the same thing with Google. Google wants to have this perception that we're just a portal, right? Mm-hmm. Google is merely this way to access this whole world of information when they are, whether you're in America or China, it's just a question of degrees of how much they're filtering out the information that they're providing you. So that's not free and open. That's filtered results that you're getting. And it's the same thing with Facebook. So, I mean, I don't know. Zuckerberg has to take the stance that he's taking because he's running a big business. I understand that. He's not going to go out there and say, oh, this is all about money and I just don't want to turn down Republican money because they'll go somewhere else with it. No CEO is going to come out and say that for any business. They're going to talk about their ideals. They're ultimately selling a brand.
Absolutely.
So I understand why he's saying this, and I don't think that, I don't, as a CEO of a company, I shouldn't expect anything less from him.
He's got interests to look out for.
Yeah.
I guess to me, the difference between Mahomes and Mahomes. Jesus Christ, we bring up sports for 1 second, my mind goes right there. Sorry. Between the NBA and the people involved in the NBA we were talking about and Zuckerberg I don't know Zuckerberg's politics. I'm sure he's, taken and donated to politicians, but he's not out there making himself a voice for his, political ideals. So if he's ultimately like, look, they pay me, I give I put it up there. It's up to you what you want to believe. I might think it's kind of a cop out a little bit because it's like, well, don't let, come on, man. You can't have a politician up there talking some shit that we just know ain't real. Case in point, like if it was some Alex, if God forbid, please don't get any ideas, Trump. But if he starts posting like, Sandy Hook was a false flag and those are all, crisis actors and that's his political ads that are, I don't know. It's just, it just seems like he's, and I hate to say this because he does so many things that I don't agree with. Seems like he's just going, look, man, I'm not out here trying to be the face of any type of political movement. I'm a businessman. and I'm handling business. Okay, well, do you then? I guess I don't know what else to say to that. I mean, it'd be one thing if he was talking out of his one side of his mouth, supporting one set of ideals, and then doing this, but he's not. You may not like what he's doing, you may not agree with what he's doing, but if he lets both sides do it, and he cashes checks from both sides and shows no favoritism to either side, isn't he just being a pure capitalist?
Yeah.
I mean, now, if you have an issue with that, then pull out the Communist Manifesto and go join Antifa. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. But I mean, like it or not, that's the country we live in. Once again, it all seems silly. It's like a businessman meets with politicians just because he's had a dinner, lunch, whatever, with politicians who have one letter by their name. I find it hard to believe that he's not done the same for the politicians on the other side with a different letter by their name.
I just think the whole thing is silly. This goes back to the thing we talked about last week. Apparently, with the new rules, guys, we can't be friends anymore because we all have different opinions. Is that the way the wind is blowing now? We've essentially done 2 stories about the same kind of thing the last 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, kind of, right? I mean, the Ellen story was actually just about being cordial and friendly to somebody in a public environment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we're talking about with Zuckerberg is, the reason that people are angry is because they know that the Republicans are going to run a bunch of bullshit ads for shit that we know that they don't even believe in. All these people defending Trump, I guarantee you, every single one of them knows that he's guilty.
But isn't one of the great things about this country is they can?
They can, sure, yeah. People are obviously mad that Zuckerberg is going to take that money and help spread those lies for money. I mean, I don't know that, like, banning Alex Jones even was a decision based on money. Alex Jones's popularity was already waning, and they had a lot more to gain from keeping people on their platform by showing that they were doing something about these nutbags that would far outweigh the people that they might lose because they're not posting InfoWars videos anymore.
Oh, absolutely. I had this conversation with a coworker. I said, if Alex Jones, if this was just post 9/11 Alex Jones, when he was, saying that 9/11, he was questioning the official story, and people from all points of the political spectrum were at least giving him, listening to him, hearing him out, and he still had that large of an audience.
Right. If this is Joe Rogan talking the same shit, but not losing a single listener or viewer or whatever, there's no way they would take action on it. So free speech only applies to big dollars.
I mean, that's another sad reality of modern America, isn't it? Justice is, you get the justice you can afford, and you have as much free speech as you can as your money will allow you to have. If you put money in someone else's pocket, you put enough of it in their pocket, they'll put up with a lot of bullshit from you. Say what you want. Just make sure them checks don't bounce.
Well, really, wasn't that the reason given for undoing a lot of the Dodd-Frank regulations is that money is speech and you can't regulate it? If you're constricting the amount of money that a politician can receive and spend and restricting the way that they can do that, then you're restricting their speech, and that's against our Constitution.
Well, like it or not, agree with it or not, it's kind of a point. I'm not a lawyer. I can't argue the finer points of that, but I can absolutely see where someone's coming from with that point of view.
It's hindering their ability to have a platform, is the argument you could make.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't believe that argument. the more, because the money doesn't equate to speech as much as it does to corruption.
Well, you don't have to agree with it.
It opens a lot of doors for you.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You don't have to agree with it to go. I can kind of understand the point you're attempting to make. I mean, it's like in the movie Religious List when Bill Maher asked the guy at Jesus Land who plays Jesus about, so you really believe that God is three people in one? And the guy's answer was, well, water can be three things at the same time: a liquid, a solid, and a gas. And Bill Maher was like, for a split second, I was like, huh. And then I thought, wait a minute, what the fuck does it have to do with what I just asked you? You know what I'm saying? Like, even for a split second, you can go, oh, okay, all right, I can see where you're going with this. It's bullshit, but I can see where you're going with this. You don't have to agree with it. And I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, isn't this cancel Facebook or delete Facebook or whatever? Isn't this what it comes down to? Is if we can agree on 99 things out of 100, shouldn't we try to build on that instead of try to build on the one thing that we are just not going to agree on? But that isn't where the drama lies. That's not where the good shit is.
You're trying to inject pragmatism into politics again, Rich.
I know. What an asshole I am. Believe me, I just went through this with a family member this weekend. But I'm like, I don't understand how we can sit here and agree about all these things, and then one issue comes up, and I'm a literal Nazi who wants to kill anyone who isn't a white straight male, which is funny because I'm a heterosexual. That's only going to leave fellow white straight males to fuck. But okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, no offense to any white straight male out there. I've never looked at your hairy ass and found love. So I don't think it's going to happen if it hasn't happened by now. But that's the state of our culture right now, isn't it? I disagree with you on one thing. I can somehow extrapolate that one thing to completely define you. Or worse, we agree, but we don't agree for the same reasons. You came to your conclusion via the wrong reasons, so you're wrong. Even though at the end we both agree on the same thing. I told you that story. I was talking with a female friend. Her point on being pro-choice was it's a female's right to choose. I said, I got that. My view on it is it's a personal rights issue. It's your body. You can do what you want with it. She said that's not the right way to look at it. So even though you're pro-choice for the wrong reasons. And I said, keep that up, and you'll make people enemies who would be allies.
How is your body your choice the wrong way to look at it?
I don't know.
She didn't go into it. She just said you were wrong.
I was wrong because I said it's your body. Look at it as a personal property issue. You have something something living in your body that you don't want there anymore. You have every right to evict it. By the law, that thing is not a human being until it can live outside your body. That's what the law says.
Yeah, it's this false belief that special rights are better than equal rights. She wants special rights for being a woman and not to be treated equally whether she was a woman or a man.
Ooh, good old set of sides.
And I mean, and like I said, I she kept hammering away, and I let her go with it. And finally, when she was done, and she essentially wore herself out, punched herself out, I just rope-a-doped her. I said, "Are you done?" And that's when I pointed out. You understand that I agree with you, but you're sitting here and you're basically calling me an asshole because I don't agree with how you came to your conclusion.
You just turned an ally into an enemy because of your opinion.
If I was a more spiteful person, yeah. I know plenty of people who have been turned off by people of all political bents so much that they adopt this childish attitude of, who are you voting for? Well, I'm voting for the other person just to cancel your vote, so fuck you. And I'm like, wow, that's petty as fuck. But
that should bode well next November.
Well, I mean, when you can't just accept, look, we took two different roads to get to the same destination. Isn't that good enough? I know that's that horrible word, compromise. Can't you accept that compromise? That as long as we're at the same destination and we're going forward, agreeing with each other from here on out, isn't that good enough? No, it's total domination. You have to agree with me. Lock, stock, and barrel. You cannot disagree with anything I think. It's basically telling you you are thinking the wrong way. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. and it's not going to win you any friends or help to get your point across.
Well, it doesn't matter about winning friends because you've already thinned out your group of friends to people who do think the right way, in your opinion. And so you just live inside your little echo bubble, and you never have to worry about hearing anybody say anything that's going to upset you or make you attempt to make you reconsider a point of view that you have. And as someone who's like, I swear to God, I'm not trying to pump myself up or get an ooh, but I think I think it's pretty safe to say I'm a naturally inquisitive person. Ooh. Like, I know. I set myself up for that one. You did. But as a naturally inquisitive person, I'm interested in the thought process behind how you came to the conclusion. It doesn't mean I have to agree with your thought process 100%, and I don't expect you to agree with mine 100%.
You're treading on having a dialogue there, Rich. We can't have that.
Well, yeah, and that was one of the things that came out in that conversation I was talking about. I had earlier this week. I said, you don't want a dialogue. You want a monologue. You want me to sit here and agree with everything you say, and it's not going to happen. And when the name calling started, yeah, I got pretty fucking heated because you're accusing me of wanting to commit mass genocide and slaughter because we don't agree on one subject? Wow, that's a huge mental leap you took, man.
Yesterday, I got called a hater because I didn't agree with Earl. Like, oh, okay, cool, I'm a hater. Can we move on? Like, that's where we're going?
Yeah, but that's where that shit started. Used to be you're a hater. Now you're a Nazi. Now you're an Antifa member. You know what I'm saying? Now you're an apologist for what, the most horrible thing we can accuse you of.
Which I did have the thought, like, I'm not 16. You're not insulting me, calling me a hater. I'm 40. I'm going to lean into that shit.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So did we hit all of our stories?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Well, I mean, I will say this real quick. If you get a chance to go and see Jay and Silent Bob in a movie theater, and you know me and you're listening to this, and you spoil that movie for me before I get to see it, I'm going to show you what a hater is. Okay.
Well, you mentioned it's going to be real quick. It's going to be in the theaters, and then 3 days later, it's going to be.
Well, it's within like a week or two. It's going to be released on streaming services and digitally.
So it's going to be on like Netflix or on Amazon where you got to buy it. How's it going to work? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure. I just know that apparently this is a new way of doing movies. Not necessarily like movies that aren't like. There's been big directors who've released movies on Netflix, but they didn't have a theatrical release. This seems to be a new thing because this just happened with Rob Zombie's new movie, the Devil's Rejects sequel. And, I mean, Kevin Smith, if you've listened to this podcast, you don't know who Kevin Smith is. Why the fuck are you listening to this podcast? So, I mean, obviously he's at least a big director in some people's mind. And I just think it's interesting because it's like, wow, you got 3 days to see it in theaters, and then you can see, then it's gone, unless you go to one of his Q&As, which I'd love to, but once I saw the prices, I was like, it ain't that important. I can listen to someone's recording them on their cell phone. I'm not paying $150 to see the movie and listen to him talk for 4 hours. He's got enough podcasts. I can listen to him talk 24 hours a day if I want. So. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. And then that was supposed to be the business plan for Martin Scorsese's new movie, The Irishman. And apparently it's not even going to be in theaters. Last I heard, it's going directly to streaming to Netflix.
No, it's going to be in at least a theater.
You sure about that? Because I swore I read an article that said it's not going to be in theaters, period.
They have to have at least one theatrical run if they want it to be considered for an award.
Oh, yeah. I forget. It is Martin Scorsese. Pretty much anything he puts out is Oscar bait. So that's it. Now, is that the Academy's rule?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if this was one of those unwritten rules, like, no one gets in as a first ballot Hall of Famer in the Baseball Hall of Fame, or if this was like an actual, this is what you have to do to be considered for an Academy Award.
I think this whole model, though, is smart. I mean, it's because you're going to have people like me who's like, why the fuck am I going to go pay $20 to see this one time when I'm already paying a subscription for where it's going to show up in a week? There's probably a lot of more people like me, but there are too. There's guys like, I've heard both of you guys say that you enjoy the experience of going to the movies. There's guys like Mike White who owns a projection booth. I guarantee you he's probably going to go to the theater and see it. So it's hitting both sections of your audience, I think, and it's a smart way, I think, to get it in front of more eyeballs than it probably would in a theater. Because if it's streaming at your house, right, you don't got to get a babysitter if you got kids. You're not shelling out $40 for two people to go see it. All your food at home's already bought, so I think it's smart.
No, I agree, and I mean also it's a hell of a lot easier if you're just scrolling through Netflix, bored, looking for something to go, oh shit, there's that new Kevin Smith and Martin Scorsese, whoever the fuck movie. Let me check it out. And if something happens and you can't finish it, you can always come back to it, and no harm, no foul. Go into it, especially this new Martin Scorsese movie is supposedly like going to make Deer Hunter look like a short film. It's like supposed to be like 3.5, almost 4 hours long. Like that's. If I have to take multiple bathroom breaks, if I'm over a certain age to go see a movie in the theater, I'd rather just see it at home. I kind of understand that. And let's be honest, it's not like a Martin Scorsese film is like an event film that you have to see in IMAX.
Yeah. Plus, at home, if you put your dick in the popcorn box, it's foreplay.
Wait a minute, what is it in the theater? A decent exposure?
Sexual assault if it's not your wife. And you're at home with your wife, you're just trying to get things started. Hey, you want some popcorn?
Hey, if you ain't fucking me or you didn't chip in on the popcorn, get your hand out my box. Whether my dick's in it or not. The fuck you think this is? This ain't communist China.
That, kids, is what we call a callback. That's a good spot to end. So this is the part where I welcome all you new listeners. I see you. You're showing up every week. Dawn, what's up? Be like Dawn. Dawn subscribes. Dawn went to ChristopherMedia.net, and she's decided she wants to give us $10 a month because she likes this show so much. So if you want to be like Dawn, you can go ahead there and do that. I suck saying this, but Christmas is coming. You're probably using Amazon. So you can go to the Amazon banner, ChristopherMedia.net, click through there. You can help us out there if you're doing all the shopping you're already going to do. We are on social media at Unregimented Pod. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, the iHeartRadio app, ChristopherMedia.net, and pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast. We are there.
And I looked up the numbers on it. It doesn't take all that many people going through the Amazon portal for it to actually help us quite a bit.
No?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was surprising. So, I mean, one little click and it helps. Just saying. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So, we appreciate you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. Because old ideas aren't cutting it anymore. This new year, we need a new generation of thinking, your way of thinking. So whatever you have in mind that will help make a different future, find everything you need to get started at GoDaddy.com. Because the future isn't decided yet. It's still ours to win. Start different at GoDaddy.com.
ChristopherMedia.net. If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.